Hey, the gang's all here. Ah, nice to see y'all. I see Eve. I'm going to do the romper room. I see Carol. Joni. Hi, Joni. Joni, I got the stuff. I was in California. Thank you. Debbie. Hello. Herman. Hello, Herman. Welcome. Herman, can you unmute for a quick moment? Can I put you on the spot?
Yeah,
Herman, welcome, Herman.
thank you very much. I was invited by Eve
Oh,
to
how
St.
nice.
Louis.
Well, I hope we don't scare you off.
I hope not.
Yeah, but nice to see a new face. So thanks for being here. And oh, Brian, nice to see you again. It's been a little bit, but it's good to see you. Oh, and Christina Earl. Hi, Christina.
Hi.
Where are you right now?
Well, I just happened to be back in Denver in time for the snowstorm.
I see. I see. Have you been in Mexico lately?
Yes, that's where I've been spending the winter.
Good for you. How nice to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Henriette is out there. And Maureen, hello. Catherine, hello, Catherine. Barbara, hi, Barbara. Barbara with a different bit of background today in a different room. Are you home or are you
Yes,
somewhere else, Barbara?
I'm home. I'm in the kitchen because Arden's upstairs.
All right. Nice to greet you. And Annette, I don't know if we've met before. Do you want to unmute and say hello? Or maybe not. You don't have to.
Hi,
Hi, Annette. Where
I'm
are you?
I'm in Iowa. I once saw you when we had a workshop in Minneapolis with the Healing Beyond Borders, I think.
Whoa, yeah. Oh my,
Oh, it was a long time ago.
that was a while ago. Oh, nice to see you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, and Kelsey's snuck in the room. Hello, Kelsey. All right. Well, for the new folks, we have a few that haven't done this with us before. So just a short intro as I do every week. We take the first 5 minutes or so to do what we just did, just to kind of get in the room and say hello and give people a moment to show up. And then each week we typically have a theme that we explore. And then the way we do that varies. Usually there's something that I provide, some sort of thoughts and reflections and teachings. Usually there's something interactive or experiential, I should say experiential, like a prayer or a meditation or both or a visualization. And then usually there's something pretty interactive. And um, and I'm hoping today we can be heavy on the interaction. Um, there's something I would like to explore with you. So no one needs to feel obligated to participate if you don't want to, if you just want to listen, that's always okay. But we also want everyone to feel welcome. And you will notice there are some regular folks. So some people seem to know each other or I know them. But you don't need to feel left out or excluded or confused if you're joining us for the first time. You really don't need to have been with us before. It's all are welcome anytime. How does that sound? Uh, well, unless does anybody have any just important questions, logistics, housekeeping, or are we ready to just get into it? Get into it. All right. Well then. So what I thought we might start off with was just a short visualization. Now we're not all visual thinkers, right? Some of us are quick to imagine and easy to accept guided visualization. Some of us aren't. That's totally fine. So don't worry if this works easily for you or if you just need to do it your own way. Some of us, I might ask you to picture something and maybe you just need to sort of think about it or feel it, it's all fine. Most importantly, we're just going to relax. We're going to settle in, and then we're going to move from this short visualization into something prayerful. And I invite you to be in your own prayerful moment when I offer mine, and that's according to whatever is meaningful to you. So if that's just being still, or meditating, or setting an intention, or praying in some specific way, it's all welcome. Most importantly, we're here together. On that note, I'm going to encourage you to close your eyes for a little while with me here. Sitting comfortably but alert, drawing a deep breath in, hold it for just a moment, and then release out through your mouth, your jaw dropping. Let yourself settle and relax. And we'll do that a few more times. Big breath in through the nose. Pause for a moment. Just notice any of the busyness in your mind or your body or your energy body. And then breathe it out through your mouth. Let your jaw soften as you exhale. And now drawing your breath in slowly and quietly, softly. So drawing your breath in through your nose as softly as you can. And then breathing out through your mouth, softly but fully. Long, long, long extended exhale. Really focus on that exchange. Softly in. And then exhaling as much as you can, and then exhaling a little more. Feel your body relax. Feel your mind growing quieter. Let your awareness become more spacious as you just begin to notice more things within you and around you. Stillness growing, silence growing. We're going to use the power of our mind's eye, our imagination, if you will, to connect with an extraordinary dimension of who and what we are. And it's going to start at the top of your head as you begin to notice at the very crown of your head a small shining light right at the surface of your skin, just nestled in at the top of your head, like a little tiny star, little tiny light. Just imagine what that might look like or feel like. This is the point where your energy is connecting with the energy beyond you, the presence of all that guides you, our original source, spirit, creator, whatever you understand. This is that little point of interface, a shining star at the tippy top of your head. And that light signifies this dynamic exchange, your own energy body, the energy, the subtle energy of this universe, just kind of sparkling and tingling and mixing together. Two beautiful forces. Maybe you see them as two colors swirling together, or two sparkling lights swirling together. With your next breath, staying with the image, staying with the feeling, imagine as this now begins to flow down and around your head. It may move inside, but that's not where we're focusing. We're focusing on your skin. We're focusing on the outside of your body, the actual outer membrane of the physical self, and this light is moving almost like a liquid that's been poured over you, and it's starting to glitter and sparkle and shine subtly, invisibly, but perceptively all over your head and face, shining, tingling light, this beautiful membrane that connects you with the outer forces and energies and protects you and maintains your inner integrity. And it now flows down around your neck. It's flowing down over your shoulders, over your arms and hands. Again, it's all on the outside. It's the interface between your inner energy body and the outside forces of light and goodness. And just continue. Use your mind's eye, use your imagination. Feel, see, allow this energy just to flow completely down your torso, down your back, your sides, your hips, down your legs, around your feet, the soles of your feet. It's as if your skin itself were becoming electric, vibrant with the energetic exchange of the inner and outer worlds of energy. And just be with that. Imagine it as best as you can. Picture it, sense it, and feel that interface, the way light and life force is coming in and yet being filtered to bring clean, clear, uplifting energy in and allowing you to breathe out through your energy body, whatever you need to release, and it dissipates. And take another moment as you simply imagine yourself as an illuminated being, connected and protected, receiving and releasing in every moment. Notice if this is more of a feeling for you, or an image, or a sensation, or all of it. And then simply allowing your awareness to move to the center of your chest, imagining a light and energy that is the presence of love at the core of your being, at the heart of yourself. It doesn't really matter in this moment what you believe or don't believe, what is real or not. You simply give yourself to this feeling and this energy. Let it expand and flow. And from this center point, we connect with our love and gratitude for life. Here today, we hold our prayer and lift it together. Simply, each in our own way, together as one, we pray to the one that is all, infinite source, mysterious presence, divine light, love of all that is, dear God, spirit, consciousness. We hold our prayers within you. We give thanks for this space and this place together. We know that with eyes closed and hearts open, we are as close in this moment as any of us could ever be. We are not alone. And in this space together, we pray for each other, whatever is in your heart right now, what you're going through, what you are longing for, what you might need help with. We are there too. We share that prayer, that hope. We lift these together. We are grateful for another day. We are grateful for life. We are grateful for the chance to learn and love and grow and help. We give thanks for the natural world and all the blessings of food and medicine, companionship and inspiration that come to us from the world of nature and earth. And we give thanks for all the guidance from the worlds beyond that we may not see or understand. We give thanks for the ways we are blessed and guided. And we pray. We pray simply for peace in this world, to every heart in distress and struggle, every community, country, family torn by violence. We pray for peace and love, healing and understanding. And that we may come together to lift this consciousness, to love this world, and to create a beautiful future for all beings everywhere. Amen. So, welcome back if you went anywhere with me. So today's topic's a little different because I'm ready with my note papers and I'm so eager to hear from you. And we are a big group, but I'm not going to do breakouts. I'd really love to try to hear from as many of you as possible. Oh, and welcome to the people that may have popped in while we were busy meditating and praying and all that stuff. So hello again. Hi, Rita and Karen. Chantel, welcome back. Miriam, Janet, just try to acknowledge as many people as possible. So today's topic, we're always, of course, it's all about spirituality here in soul circles, but today's kind of I'm interested to explore the idea of wholeness. And in particular, my sense is that in our lives, there are many essential ways that we stay connected to whatever you might call your soul, your spirit, your deepest sense of meaning and self. And these are more often than not explicitly spiritual things. And what I mean by that is very often when we seek wholeness or spiritual growth, we will explore explicitly spiritual things like prayer and meditation and reading philosophy and doing spiritual practices. But I think there are many soulful elements of life, and that might be food, that might be companionship, that might be music, that might be movement. There's so many ways that we feel fulfilled, connected, and whole. And the inspiration for this, for me, or the inspiration behind the question for me, is a lot about the distress we see in the world today. And I have a curious sort of perspective on it, which is to say that yes, there are a lot of things we need to stop. I'm generalizing, right? That we need to stop doing in the world. Ways of being distracted and ways of being disconnected and ways of treating each other. But I have a pretty strong feeling that a lot of these things that we want to fix, change, or correct are not innate problems, but they have become problems because of what we don't do, because of what we've lost, because of what we've forgotten, because of what we've left out. And it seems to me, generally, not always, but generally, when we restore the lost parts of self, when we restore the things that bring us fullness and wholeness, then many of those other things come back into balance. A simple example would be digital distraction. It's very normal for any of us to spend too much time looking at a screen, phone, email, surfing the net, watching shows. I don't think it's all bad, but I think it can easily slip into habit, addiction, distraction, or things that just might be robbing our time. Well, you could set up a battle with this, make it all wrong and all that sort of stuff, or you just spend more time doing other things, which is different, right? If your day is so full that you don't have time to sit and scroll or sit and watch or whatever habit you want to change, then it's changed by definition. A funny example, and then I think I'm going to stop and switch to you guys in just a moment here. A funny example is the breathing exercise that I often teach with the long exhale. So the thing that I love about the long exhale is that what I really want for people is to engage the diaphragmatic breath, right? The belly breath. Most of you have heard of this. So when we let when we let the lower third of the lungs expand, right? Because the diaphragm, because we push our belly muscles out, the diaphragm can go down and the lungs can expand more fully. We get a bigger breath. And so we can oxygenate our blood better. And there's all these other things that happen in the nervous system as we become more parasympathetically engaged, more relaxation rather than reaction, right? But it's interesting how hard it is to teach people or ask people to do the belly breath. It's actually quite counterintuitive for a lot of us to breathe in and push the stomach muscle out, which is what you really want to do. But most of us, by intentional conditioning or unconscious conditioning, we've almost learned to do the opposite. Like we suck in and push up or something weird like that. But the cool thing about learning to just push the breath out until your stomach muscles contract. So all you focus on is the exhale. Breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. Stomach muscles contract. Your next breath is by automatic process an involuntary belly breath. So why am I talking about that? I'm talking about that because it would seem to me that being acutely aware of what we are not doing um, is critical, because in the vacuum of not embracing our wholeness, other things take the place. And yet, to change those things that fill the void, whether it's distraction or whether it's drinking or whether it's eating or whether it's complaining or blaming or gossiping, to go directly at those things and change them is very difficult. They have their own habitual nature, they have their own addictive nature, and here's the last point, and this is the big one. If you're going to leave anytime soon, get this. The best way to change a habit is almost always to replace it with a habit of equal or greater value, right? So it's very hard to expect someone to stop doing something without giving them something to do in its place. So you can say, well, get off your phone. You can say, stop complaining. You can say, stop eating, whatever it is. But then what? Whatever the soul wanted, whatever the brain wanted, whatever, right? Whatever the emotions wanted, they're still going to want it. So what's the new behavior? So the idea is that if we really put more energy into remembering things essentially that are good for us, things that uplift us and fulfill us, then we find the system has a much greater capacity to correct itself. And I would love to hear from you. And maybe we can just start off with one thing each, and we'll try not to duplicate, or if we're going to duplicate, we're going to go with a different version of something similar. But if we were to create a list of things that you believe humans, or at the very least you yourself, need to be whole, what would those things be? And I'm going to throw some words out. You can pick any of them or add. Community comes to mind, nature comes to mind, being with our senses comes to mind, having a vibrant relationship to food. I don't know, these are examples, but maybe you don't like any of them. So you are welcome to pick one of mine or add something new. And before I start picking on people, who wants to go first? What do you think people need to really be whole? Kelsey, come on down.
I love that this is the topic for today because one of the things for me is that I've noticed that I haven't been doing like sitting at my altar as often as I used to. And so I've started to do it again. And just before this, I set up, like I cleared my altar and set it up again. And, you know, it's has the candle burning on it right now, and just like that to me, like having a like daily ritual practice, I would say basically really like sets the tone for me and like, yeah, it makes me feel whole.
Beautiful. So I love specifically the example of a daily ritual practice at the altar, a sacred space, right? For people that maybe don't know what you mean, a sacred space that sort of embodies your spiritual world and points of connection and energy. Um, and I think more broadly, it's a reference to how we need ceremony in our lives. These regular ways to energetically return to center. Love it. Excellent. Who's next? We have ceremony and daily ritual for wholeness. Let's get another example. Yeah, Barbara.
Gratitude. That always brings me back. And it's not just gratitude for things that are going my way, but gratitude for things that aren't going my way. And that in that is perhaps something I need to pay attention to or to learn from or just embrace.
Beautiful. And gratitude to me builds on what Kelsey shared, because you can always include gratitude in your prayerfulness or your ritual work. But I also hear you talking about it as a way of being in the moment. You know, that you're perpetually returning to appreciation. And I like the way you, because there's a curiosity you brought up, also being grateful for things we don't like or want. Do you want to say anything more about that? That's pretty powerful. What's the
Not right
value
now.
then? Why do you do that? I mean, what's the value?
Well, it helps me shift my thinking so I can embrace a bigger picture. It's part of the wholeness for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. It's beautiful. We have ceremony, we have gratitude. Who's next? We might get everyone in. Lanny, come on down. What do you think we need? Go ahead.
I can't. I need it. I agree with what you said about community, but to me, it's connectedness. Like yesterday, I was in an office place and I was wiped out, and yet there's this lady that gives out wooden hearts to people she appreciates. I give out glass hearts. I make glass hearts and I give them to people who I appreciate, who touch my soul. So this lady just happened to be in a radiology place. And she was talking about how she just gave this lady this thing. I said, wow, what is that? How do I get it? And she said, and I said, I give out hearts. And so there was this oneness that was just out of joy and giving when you appreciate. It's like letting people know there's a oneness, there's a joy. And that just you know, it was like, and then somebody next to me knew something about what I was doing. It was like, it was just, it was just a wonderful light connection. That's what makes me happy.
Hmm. So you talked it about, yes, you made an important distinction between community and connectedness. And I wrote down giving, appreciation. And there's something, oh, I know. The word that I have written here is acknowledging. And I know appreciation, giving, and acknowledging all sound like the same thing, but they're not really. And I want to just bring up the word acknowledging because what you shared in your example is that she acknowledges people. She lets them know. It's not just that she appreciates them, right? So you can do that internally. And it's not just giving something, although there's a giving element, but the way you put it, it's like there's something that's communicated that goes with it. Like I see you, I'm grateful for you, or I'm here to support you, because you could give those hearts for lots of reasons. And it's amazing how easy it is for us to get through a day without really acknowledging the people that we're crossing, the people that we're passing, the people that we're taking the parking spot from, or following up on the machine at the gym, or standing behind in the checkout line. We are surrounded by hearts and minds all the time. And
Well,
that's,
it also touches people's hearts when
yeah.
you do this symbol. It's joy.
Hmm,
So
I love that. Thank you. And it's a great, if we want, we can actually practice you and give hearts. I love that. Christina has her hand up, and I have to say, Christina, you were just mentioning spending time in Mexico over the winter, and it immediately reminds me of how when I lived in Mexico, there were so many things that I felt I was more connected to than when I'm here, to be honest, or at least when I was living in some places. So what's coming up for you?
Well, given the nature of the work that I do, I am using a lot of texting with WhatsApp for international communication and using email. And I find that that carries over into my personal life where it's more efficient to just text somebody rather than call them.
Hmm.
And I am here in Denver because I have a medical crisis.
Hmm.
And someone invited me to come over for dinner. And a lot of the time, I'm just too busy to do that. But I realized going through this little crisis that I really needed some personal contact, personal
Hmm.
interaction, person to person connection. And so after I had dinner and visited with her and I came home, I couldn't believe how elevated I felt and um, how much happier and more joyous I felt just from spending personal time with a friend, which
Hmm.
I really needed. So, and I apologize, I don't have my video on because I'm not feeling very well at the moment, but the photo looks much better than I do at the moment. That's in
Well,
Mexico, by the way.
I think we're all sending our blessings and prayers for whatever's going on. I hope you feel better,
Oh, thank you.
that it resolves. But you know, it's interesting. What you just shared with me reminds me of something funny that I heard in uh, a comedian, I think it was, on social media, and
Hmm.
he said, "Yeah, I'm trying to be healthier and have better relationships. You know, I'm practicing this thing called mindfulness." He said it's a little I've been finding it a little challenging. And he said, I started to get the hang of it. And then I realized mindfulness is actually what I grew up doing. And it's just a fancy word for something we all used to do all the time because he said, you know, when I was young and I was waiting for the bus, I didn't have a phone to look at. I just
Mhm.
I just had to be there, you know? I just had to be there and see whatever was to be seen. I didn't, you know, often didn't even have music to distract myself. Or if I didn't like what was on television, you know, because he only had 12 channels. If any of you can remember that.
Yeah.
You know, uh, just had to shut the TV off and do nothing. Or go for a walk and just walk, right? There was a time in life where we didn't need to teach people to do one thing at a time because that was kind of all we did. We didn't have so many forms of distraction. And the reason why I'm making the analogy with what you shared is the science of wellness has gone to this sort of ridiculous extreme where we could take your very important example of time together with a friend, something so simple. And then we can break it into all these new increments of wellness interventions that we have evidence for. And you show up at the house and there's a hug. You haven't seen your friend, there's a hug. But we now know that the hug releases endorphins and sometimes oxytocin, and a hug, if there's enough affection or if it's long enough, and that can be friends, family, whatever, can even begin to induce a healing response. Oh, check. Went over to the friends, hug. And then we talk and we share and we realize that we don't always need to pay for therapy or coaching. And sometimes just telling our story to someone and hearing their experience, you know? Okay, mental health intervention, check. And then we sit down and we eat together. But because somebody prepared it for us, we're more present. We notice what everything tastes like. We thank them and they comment on the recipe and where they got it from. And now we feel a little more connected to them and their family, or where they were on a trip and they picked up this recipe for, I don't know, curry chicken or whatever it is. So the point is that, you know, what you shared, it sounds so simple, just time with a friend. But it's filled with so many things that are so important for us. Sharing, connecting, slowing down, taking time, hugs, food, vulnerability, all those things. So making time for real people matters. Absolutely. So thank you for that. Now, if you want to, if there's anything else you wanted to add, you are muted, so I can't, just so you know, I can't hear you, but you're welcome to jump back in. Um, and I'm also eager to hear who's next. Yes. Oh, wait, who's next? Did I see? I'm going to pick somebody. Now, Teresa's off camera, but Teresa, you often, I think you join in, you've told us that you join in sometimes after your work or between your work, and that you're in some helping profession. Are you available to come to the microphone? I'm picking on Teresa. It's always risky to pick a non-camera person. And that's okay. If you don't unmute, I'm going to keep going, but unmute when you're ready. Rita, you have not been with us. I wonder if you have something you might like to add. Is there something that helps you feel more yourself or more whole that we haven't talked about?
Well, I just got home from a funeral of a very good friend,
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
he was part of my Tuesday meditation class that I lead,
Mm,
and so I'm coming home feeling I'm not going to pray for him. I'm going to pray to him.
mm,
So I'm kind of into we're material manifestations of the divine, and we need to live out of that, and that's where he is now. There is a soul, you say. And we get help from the other side. So that's where
mm.
I'm at. And for me, that's wholeness. And I think our whole planet needs it.
And so for you, staying connected to the other side. Yeah.
Yes, very
Boy,
much so.
you know, it's funny. it's not often talked about as a wellness, intervention, because everything's so medicalized now. But I have that same experience, that being connected to ancestors and to loved ones that have passed on, it's been diminished over the years, over the centuries, as superstition or wishful thinking, or these kinds of things. But I have no doubt that not only is it true, but it's important that there's something missing in us, in our everyday life, when we lose the other side. Is it something like that for you? Or
Yes, very much so.
yeah. Well, we're with you today, and thank you for coming on and talking a little bit when you probably don't feel like it. You probably prefer to listen. So I'm not going to push you anymore, but thank you. Thank you. Carol, come on board.
I was actually in total agreement to everything you said about connection, but I was going to put forward the opposite, being with ourselves.
Yeah, solitude.
And yeah, and it also came a little bit into your story of your friend that you said you used to walk to the bus, you didn't have distractions. It was time where he was with himself. He just had his thoughts, and he could collect everything together and become more whole in that way. Whereas now we dive from one thing to the other, or we're on a busy street and we're just watching traffic, and we don't have that just sitting quietly with ourselves in the same context. We've got to make an effort to do it rather than it's part of everything we do.
So true. And interestingly, I completely agree. I think people misunderstand being alone or lonely as these things to really avoid, or that might be distasteful. But the way you talk about it, when you bring presence to being alone, what you really get to experience is solitude. And I have the same feeling as you, that when I'm really alone, but open-minded, open-hearted, and present, I feel less alone. Sometimes less alone than I do when I'm actually with people, because there's such an availability, right? Like, that's a big part of the spiritual journey. Like, can you be available to others, to the other side, to any of the things? And being alone can be a great practice for that. So thank you. Maureen, can I pick on you? Welcome, Maureen.
Yeah, hi. It's nice to see you, Jonathan, and everyone else.
Maureen, you look like a Maureen that I knew a long time ago.
Yeah, we were at a retreat with my spiritual community at Baja Principe in on the east coast of Mexico,
Yeah, I
and with
thought I
Jan Adrian, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
come on.
and so I'm going to actually use this, and you'll remember, is that I think you wrote a book called Inspiration Deficit Disorder, and so I'm going to use that as my comment, and then I'm going to be jumping off a little bit earlier because I have a 1 o'clock meeting. So what I like about that is there are things every day that I find inspiring, that we all find inspiring, and even if I'm looking out the window and I've got a few birds looking for food on bare trees, and of course they'll be flowering pretty soon. And I always like to look around and have awe. And of course, now awe is monetized and buzzy. It's very buzzy and monetized, and Greater Good and UC Berkeley is now, they're doing all these workshops and everything. And we all intrinsically have that. Just like one of our colleagues just mentioned, about just being aware of what's going on. And then I just want to make one more comment is, when you mentioned wholeness, there's also, like I was just doing a play on words, and I'm not going to talk about my background, but HOLENESS. And when I walk around my community, sometimes I like to look in holes and find out what's going on in there. And there's birds or there's squirrels. And this is very much connected to the book you wrote, although I find inspiration everywhere, every day, every time. And I think that's what keeps us young is looking for that inspiration. So thanks for picking on me, Jonathan. No
Yeah,
problem.
I know, and I can't believe I remembered I saw you and I was like, wait, I know this person. You know, you're just making me think of something. This is shameless self-promotion. But I have this new book called Spiritual Experience. And one of the interesting things for people that don't know about it is that I give this sort of inventory of 7 types of spiritual experience. And the first is like experiences of awe. I call it Truth and Beauty. And by the way, there's a great book out right now about the beauty or the power of awe or whatever it's called. But as you say, it's also like, do we really need a book on this? but but the point of me bringing up this book is that on the further end of the spectrum, there's this like really outrageous experiences of non-duality and transcendence and blissful connection. And there's a tendency in the spiritual world to really idealize the more unusual, the more rare types of spiritual experience. But I think these moments of awe, where you just happen to pass a bush and see a bird nesting, right? I mean, it's just, to me, these are glimpses of the greatest experiences possible. They may be short, and sure, they may not rip through us in quite the same way, but they're every bit as important because the more you stay alert to them, the more they add up over time. Now, I'm going to make a horrible analogy. I apologize. But in trauma work, you know, there's really 2 types of trauma that people talk about. And one is like what I call impact trauma, and the other developmental trauma. And basically, one is an incident or something horrible has happened that overwhelms your ability to cope. And then the other is sort of a slow, steady overwhelm, right? So, again, forgive the harshness of the analogy. If you are attacked by someone on your way home from a movie theater and they take your things and hurt you, that's a traumatic event. But you can also be sort of attacked in your home, right? Psychologically or something like that by a sibling or a family member, like again and again and again and again and again every day. And it adds up. They culminate in similar consequences. Well, that's not the best or most delightful analogy, but it's not dissimilar in the sense that we can have these lightning bolt experiences that radically change our lives. But we can also cultivate the same kind of transformation by just capturing every little moment of awe and wonder and surprise that we can. And it adds up in very much the same way, and sometimes more.
And so I'm gonna interject and then
Yeah,
I'm gonna mute.
please.
Is what you were saying about habits. And I don't I don't want to say the exact same thing you said. And it's part of neuroplasticity and neurobiology. If instead of having, waking up and going, oh shit, this is, it's dark outside, it's this and that, and replacing it with another thought. I mean, habits are practice just like anything else, and how we treat ourselves and what we say to ourselves. And those, I'm not retiring, I'm rewiring, by the way, but that's another conversation, maybe another session for you. But the rewiring is really important. I think we need to trust that our brains can go there. So thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. And they can, and they can. So I'm going to probably pick on 2 more people unless does anybody want to jump in at this point? All right. And Annette, you're kind of new here. Do you want to say anything today? You can say no, but I wanted to welcome you in case you have a way of connecting or feeling whole that hasn't been named.
I'm thinking of the word acceptance,
Mm,
how, I don't have makeup on or whatever, but the acceptance of you letting me in your group is cool. And the acceptance that even though I'm not there yet, that I will get there. And whenever she was talking about accepting the good and the bad, it's all it's in the heart where I can just know that it's okay, just where I am right now.
Yeah. And acceptance is also a big part of giving up control, isn't it? Like, I feel like the opposite of allowing ourselves to be accepted is to constantly try to adjust people's perceptions and make ourselves, as you say, look a certain way, seem a certain way. So whether it's acceptance of others or acceptance of ourself, I think it's very deep work. And I think it's um more than just being appreciated or cared for, no?
Yeah, it's knowing that the divine timing, everything's, it's just, you just have to believe in the hopefulness of that. I'm not there yet, or how many more workshops do I need or whatever, but
Right.
I want to know that I'm on my path. That's the way I have been accepting it, I guess.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, it's also about trust for you, or what some people might have called faith. Yeah, that's beautiful. Now Chantel, I know was here with us with her camera on, and then her camera's off, and now I'm picking on her, and she's probably in the kitchen or something like that. If Chantel, I wonder, you've been around so many wonderful practices over the years and experienced so many things. I wonder if there's like a way of staying connected and whole, that you want to share, even if it's very, mundane or ordinary.
I was writing about it, but now you pick on me. Let's talk about it. Well, when you say wholeness, for me, equal union, even though I haven't realized the whole concept yet, or even actualize it, even though it's saying that union is between here and there, even though there is here now. It's all the same, it's all interconnected. Like, one dimension is there, then we say we want to go there, I meditate, I go there, but then am I going there? I'm just here, I'm just changing consciousness.
Uh-huh.
So,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
then I see it as material, vu, spiritual, body, vu, soul. So, but like I said, I realized the spark of my being, but I haven't actualized it fully, or maybe I'm just not aware. So I'm still trying to join both and the polarity. So for me, wholeness will be that, to join the polarity, union. Once I'm able to join something that is already whole, I'll be okay. If I can have my mind more balanced with my art and the spiritual and the body, I'll be okay. But I think my mind is playing a lot of tricks on me because I am somebody told me, you should be a psychoanalyst, Chantal, because you analyze to the core, you go so deep, we cannot understand you. You understand us, but we cannot understand when you start your analyzing. So I need to be, I guess I need to speak from intuition instead of too much on my mind. But then the two can be good too, But I'm a human being and I'm a divine being. So
It's beautiful. I wrote a few things down. It's not the way you said it, but it's just something I would emphasize for people was I love the way you invited people to rethink time and space, that we don't go somewhere, we change perception, right? We're always there. We're always connected to those dimensions, to those places. And that's a helpful reframe, because to think of it as always out there or somewhere suggests that we're at some moments disconnected from it when we're not. And I also loved something that you said, again, not directly, but what I heard was like, question your mind. Don't assume your perception is always complete, because I think your word was the mind plays tricks on us, And that's true. I believe, and I'm not going to get into this, a big optical illusion. And I have one more person to pick on who's not probably expecting this, but I think we've been designed on this earth to play tricks on our minds so we stay really invested in this drama. But we have to be careful, right? We just have to be careful that we use our humanness to move towards wholeness and not separation. Now, there's a lot of people I'd like to pick on, but Brian, I'm going to pick on you because there's one thing that hasn't been said, and I wonder if you might say it for me, but I'm going to see if I can cue you by saying, where do you feel wholeness? What is a place you go to? And if you don't know what I'm saying, I might have to cue you a little more, but there's a reason why I picked you, and that might also be a clue. Oh, and you're muted. If you could just unmute. I think you're good. Oh no, you just remuted. So sorry. You were off. There.
There.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where do you go to feel connected?
Well, meditation has been a big part of my life for 40 or 50 years now, I guess. So
And
yeah,
what if I were to take away your explicitly spiritual answers? Is there anything else you do that helps you to feel connected that isn't prayer, meditation, going to church?
yeah, I was thinking solitude earlier, but somebody already got that one. So.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you embody it so much so you don't even name it because you're like a fish in the water that doesn't know it's swimming. Nature.
Nature. Yeah, here I'm staring out the window into the forest. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you've adjusted your life to be closer to nature.
It's true.
Yeah, and you guys go out a lot, don't you?
We do. We do. Yeah, we spend a lot of time hiking and cross country skiing and downhill skiing, and yeah, time in nature is really important. And for me, solitude in nature is really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so many of the other things that people mentioned, I mean, just being aware of your surroundings and yeah, the bird's nest and the flower bud and things like that. It makes for a very disjointed conversation on the trail with Lynn.
Oh. Well, I was torn, Brian and Joni. Who was I going to ask to talk about nature? And Joni, I decided to leave you alone for once. And Brian, thank you for coming on camera with the gang. We've run out of time, but I wanted to make sure we finished with nature because if nothing else, you can all go outside and find a patio or a park bench or a plant or a blade of grass pushing up through the sidewalk, and there is your altar, and there is your meditation, and there is your church. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for the new folks, Herman, Annette, Rita, others, of course. I'm not going to name everyone at this point, but thank you for coming. And we'll be here next week, yeah. And we'll explore something different. And I'm just really, really great. Oh, Timothy, good to catch you there. Thank you everyone for being here, and I hope we see each other again soon.